we want to actually play a new game in a new segment. We've mentioned it before. It's called Saturday. Satter meaning like sad, boohoo. We picked 8 teams, and we seeded them 1 through 8 of all teams. This week, it happens to be all the teams that all these teams lost, I believe. Yeah, all these teams lost. And we seeded them how we wanted to because we are the committee and we are the judges of that, judge, jury, and whatever. And so we have well, I'll just go through the 8 seeds here. So we have Alabama at 1, biggest loss of the week. They deserve the number 1 seed. We have Texas at number 2 seed, Boise State at the number 3, Colorado 4, Clemson 5, Syracuse 6, Kansas State 7, and Northwestern at 8. And so what we'll do, we'll have a quarterfinal, semifinal, and then final. Typical 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, that type of playoff situation. And what we'll do is we will put up a bad stat for the number 1 seed versus a bad stat of the number 8 seed. And we will decide as a group which stat was worse, which team had the sadder day. As the team moves through the playoffs, we will then end with the sad boys of the week, the saddest team of the week. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first round, we have Alabama versus Northwestern. We have Texas versus Kansas State. We have Boise State versus Syracuse. And then we have Colorado versus Clemson. So, Aaron, my question to you, number 1 versus number 8, Alabama versus Northwestern. The first bad stat for Alabama, they only had 3 yards per carry on the ground. Northwestern, they were held scoreless after the first quarter. So, my question to you, which team had the sadder day?
Sure. So I'm gonna have to go with Alabama here. Again, we talked about DeBoer's offense and how it just heavily relies on the quarterback. I feel like if you're gonna have an effective offense at all in this league, especially in the SEC, you gotta be able to run the ball. So 3
Yeah.
yards per carry is just not acceptable.
I agree with that. Plus, if you're only held scoreless after the first quarter, you still have 3 quarters to make it up, right? So, yeah,
Exactly.
I'll agree with the 3 yards per carry there. So number 2 Texas versus number 7 Kansas State. Which one is worse? 1 of 5 on 4th down conversion or 5 of 13 on 3rd down conversion?
I'm gonna have to go with 1 of 5 on 4th down conversions by Texas. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but some of those moments could have turned into field goals or opportunities for maybe punting the ball downfield and giving them their defense a little bit of better field advantage. 5 of 13 on 3rd down, yeah, that is bad, but turning the ball over on 4th down, I think has the bigger impact. Yep.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna go Texas. I see we have Boise State and Syracuse next on the list. So I'm gonna ask you this question, Mass.
Yeah.
Um, what is worse, Boise State turning the ball over 3 times to South Florida 0, or Syracuse being down 0-17 in the hole to begin the game?
I'm going to go, let's see. So we have a -3 turnover deficit or 0-17 hold to begin the game. I don't know. 0-17, that's pretty sad just because it sucks so much energy out of, your team, your fans that are in the stadium. I'm going to go 0-17 hold to begin the game. That's pretty sad.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly on the first round list, we have Colorado and Clemson. So Colorado, their defense gave up 320 rushing yards against Georgia Tech. That's pretty insane. Clemson, they had about 1.6 yards per carry. So their run game was little to not effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
Who had the
Uh,
Saturday between those two?
yeah, I think only because this is a reoccurring issue with Colorado, giving up all those rushing yards, and then
Mhm.
Clemson, Clemson is Clemson. They're supposed to be able to. We've had so many good running backs come out of Clemson. For them to go all of a sudden their average falls down to 1.6 yards per carry. I'm gonna have to go to the Clemson route there. I think they were the sadder team. They had the sadder day.
Okay.
Cool.
All
All
right.
right, so now we are in the semifinals. We have Alabama versus Texas. Uh, so Aaron, I will ask you who had the Saturday. Alabama was 2-5 on fourth. Texas and Arch Manning, he was 37% off target on his throws. So between those two, these are some heavy hitters. Between
Hmm.
these two, who had the Saturday?
Ah, man, this is the tough one because again, those fourth down conversions that are turnovers because you don't convert, those are big impactors. But with the Texas Ohio State game being so close, a third of Arch's, throws being off target could have been the difference between a win on Saturday. So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to go with Texas on having the Saturday with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And so next on the list we have Syracuse and Clemson mash. So Um, the second stat we have for Clemson is, they were 3 of 13 on third down.
Hmm.
Uh, and then for Syracuse, they failed on 2 two-point conversions. Who had the Saturday out of those 2 teams?
Well, considering you could have added a bunch more 2-point conversions and Syracuse still wouldn't have won. I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
go with 3 for 13 on third down. That's probably, I mean, that's tough because we didn't look up what their fourth down conversion was, but it probably wasn't that much better. So I'm gonna go with Clemson having the Saturday. So now we are down to our finals. We have Texas versus Clemson. One of these teams had the saddest Saturday. Texas was 1 of 5 on their fourth down conversion. So that means they had 4 turnover on downs. And Clemson had no passing touchdowns. That's tough. So
Mm.
Aaron, I'll leave it up to you. You are the final judge on this one. Texas or Clemson, who had the saddest day?
Okay. When you sum it all up and we talked about, the different bad stats between the 2 teams, I'm gonna have to go with Texas because I think their stats all revolve around one guy, and that's
Mm,
Arch Manning.
yeah.
If their offense would have been more productive, and if he would have lived up to the hype that was out there, could have been a difference in them winning the game. So I'm gonna say Texas had the saddest Saturday in
All
week
right.
one.
So our inaugural sad boys of the week, Texas Longhorns.